I really dig this Imalent flashlight here. It's sweet. This BL70, I did a whole review on it. The only problem is there's no good way to carry it. So today I want to make a sheath for it, or a holster, more like, and something I can just put on my belt and slip this thing in. There's a few things we need to consider. We have this button here. When it's being carried, I want to avoid getting that button pushed because I want to be able to carry this without having to lock it like this. But we also have a button here that I need to avoid having pushed. And we have this screen. So I'd like to have a little bit of protection for that as well. So I'm thinking I'm going to have the light slide into a holster like this. And I want to have the lips of the holster, I'm going to leave it open somewhat to kind of flex and maybe grip the light a little bit. And then have a flap underneath right there, bent in to stop the travel down. And I want to have the lips of the holster kind of extend out like my fingers. I just want to have them extend out a little bit so that if I rub up against anything, it doesn't tear this stuff up. It's also another reason I want to have it like this and have it open, is that the screen and all that stuff won't be getting rubbed on by kydex all the time. So I have this gray kydex. I think it'll look okay with this. I can always make another one. I've never made a holster like this, so maybe I'll mess it up and have to make it with a different color anyway. I'm going to make it out of this, and then I do have some other clips, some belt clips, and we'll take a look at those once I decide how I want to do this. The only thing I've done is taken this piece of G10. This is the only pre-work I've done. And I formed it to go over this. That way when I wrap the kydex around there, it will hold it off, like what I'm looking for. So if this is how we're going to have it sit, with this facing out, that means along this back section here, we're going to need, I guess I'll have to decide on a clip right now. Whoops, sorry. We're going to need to get a clip. I have one of these metal clips that I haven't used yet that looks like it would be very nice and secure. I got this just to give it a try. I like the looks of it though. I have these, which these have the screws side by side, and they're going to be too wide and they're not going to work. And then I have these plastic clips. I've used these before and I like them, and I think for right now these would be good. We could put them on something like that. That should carry just below, with the top being just below the top of my belt. Should make it easy to take off and on without hanging down too low when I sit. This clip is nice because it has this hook. It'll keep it from sliding off, but it's easy to get on and off, and it's easy to clip on, especially. So what we need to do is we need to add this to the light as a spacer. And then we're going to have, screws, hardware going through the kydex to attach this clip to the holster. We don't want those to come in contact with the light. So I'm going to go to don't laugh at me here, but my peanut butter jar full of jigs for making kydex and everything, and see what I can find for a spacer to fit on the back of that light. I think that's going to be a little too thick. We don't need anything that thick just for the heads of the screws or the through posts. If I don't find something I like, then I will make something. There's some 1/4-inch MDF. I don't think that's quite wide enough for what I want. Well, that wouldn't be bad right there. What's nice about this piece is that it's definitely wide enough to, you know, hide the screws and all that stuff. But it also is almost the same thickness as the clip. So once the kydex forms to it, it'll give this clip support from being able to twist. So I think we have a winner right here. So let me clean up my mess of little pieces. You know, when you make these things, these little pieces, in order to make clearance or do special things like this, don't throw this away. Just get a peanut butter jar, because you're always going to reuse this. And some of these things are so universal that you're going to use them all the time. I wind up, I might have to start another peanut butter jar here pretty soon, which isn't a problem because I eat a bunch of peanut butter. All right. So now we know what clip, and we know 2 spacers. My white spacer just wound up in the peanut butter jar, didn't it? Yep. Good stuff. There we go. So now I'll grab some masking tape. Generally with the kydex, you want to have at least a layer or 2 of tape. You don't want the kydex to form directly to the light or something and have to drag in and out. So we're going to add the spacers. And we'll make sure that we have a good amount of shim built into this. All right. These spacers, you know, they're, like I say, it's not rocket surgery. We're just want to make sure we get them on pretty straight. I want to make sure nothing folds down over that. We're going to leave the very top of the light out, sticking out of the holster anyway, so we have something to grab. Okay. Now we have this. So here's our hook, and we want to, I think that would be pretty good if it hung down just maybe like halfway down the belt, have the top. So probably right in that area right there is really good. Get this thing centered up nice on there. Okay. I'm just going to cover the rest of this. Doesn't hurt to keep that hot kydex off the light too, especially some of that rubbery parts. So and when you're adding the shim, you don't want to add too much either, because then the light's going to flop around. That is able to be adjusted a little bit afterward, and maybe we'll have to do that. Okay, so now we need to cut our kydex. So one thing when you're cutting kydex, kydex is inexpensive, okay? This piece of gray is like $3. So don't short yourself. You're going to mess yourself up and cause yourself stress if you short yourself on the kydex. So now we're going to need the area along here to be wide enough to come up and around. But down here, we don't need the wide area to come down low. So all we need is a piece to extend down, because then we're going to bend this up to form the bottom. That makes sense? Okay. I did not get this spacer for the clip on here good. Take the time now to fix it. That's better. Okay. So if we lay this down, we have some extra there, and we'll give this a good roll. I'm going to cut here. Up to, say, up to here. We're going to cut out this square, and then we're going to cut out some pieces to the bottom. So the way we're going to cut this is just with a razor knife. So we mark this, let's just call it 6 inches. We want to mark this straight so that when we go to reuse this, what's left of this later, it's not a mess. Just score it about 3 times. Okay, Okay, then we'll come here and let's see, what do we got? We'll call this 6.5 inches. All right, you just break it. That's simple. Okay, so there's our light. We know that we want a piece sticking out. It's about as wide as the light, about 1 inch. And we'll probably have to form it a little bit afterward, but that's okay. So let's find the center. Center's right there. So we'll go 1/4 inch this way and 1/4 inch this way. What am I doing? 1/2 inch and 1/2 inch. That's about the size of the light. And we can take this say we'll go right up to about there. So that is 1 1/8 inches. Got that. Now we'll cut this section out. All right, let's do the same over here. Inch and 1/8. Inch and 1/8. When we put this in the heat, we won't put this little tab in. So hopefully we'll be able to bend the rest of it around without messing this tab up. If we heat the tab and bend it a little bit, it'll all straighten out with the heat gun. That's not to worry. At least that's my plan. Okay, so now we're going to wind up molding it like this. I think we can fold that up and clean this out to where we like it. It's going to actually be like this. We may have to cut with the bandsaw, cut some of the area out here if it folds, and clean this up just as we go in order to get this tab to bend where we want, and then we can form that tab too. And then of course there's going to be extra up here that'll be trimmed off easy, no problem. That's the thought anyway. So I'm going to get the kydex press ready. As soon as I get all set up, we'll put this in the oven and I'll be right back. Okay, I have the kydex in the toaster oven. Toaster oven set for about 330 degrees. That's just fairly thin kydex, so it's not going to take long. So I have my clamps. Get them staged, at least the first one. Then here's the bottom. So we're going to stick this in this direction like this, with the bottom right near where we want the tab to stick out. And then we'll give it a squeeze. And hopefully keep this nice and centered in here while we squeeze it. But the kydex is nice because if you do mess up, you just heat it and it unfolds and you have a second shot. You can do that a few times usually before you mess it up. I have some other colors of kydex too. I do have some black. Black would look fine with this light. Then I have some other like OD green and tan and stuff that really aren't going to go as good. I looked for some dark blue, but I think I'd used up all my dark blue. It's almost time to make another kydex order, I think. So I can see that the kydex is starting to warp. What happens in the oven, the kydex will the edges will start to curl up a little bit when it heats, because some parts heat faster than others. And then when the kydex relaxes and lays back down, you know that it's pretty much thoroughly heated and it's time to go. You don't want to overheat it. You can definitely ruin it. Check it. Oh yeah, it's just about there. Just a few more seconds. Once we pull it out, then we'll hurry. This thin stuff cools off fairly quickly, and we want to get it pressed good before it cools. All right, here we go. Okay, so this looks pretty good. This is already getting stiffened up. We're going to probably have just a little bit to trim off. And this piece here that's sticking out, it's curling a little bit, but we're going to be able to straighten that out, no problem. So I'm going to go ahead and stop recording while this cools. And then when we come back, we're going to see what we've got. Okay, it's been long enough. Let's get these clamps off here. Find out what we got. Oh, that looks pretty good. Look at that spacer for the clip. That is awesome. I would say all in all, it's not bad. This came out a little bit off, but we'll bend it in there and shape it. All right. Let's get this light out of here. I can definitely tell that there's going to be some fine tuning. That's okay. That's no problem. You know, I'm almost wondering with these lips down here. Yeah, I do still want to have this flap over here though to protect that button. So let's go over to the bandsaw and trim some of this excess off so we can see what we're doing. Okay, get some light on the subject here. Whoop. All right, I'm just not used to working around the camera. Looks wild, doesn't it? See. Trim off a little bit more of that. All right. I'm going to get the belt grinder set up and we're going to clean this thing up on the belt and kind of test fit the light. I can see some areas that are going to require attention for sure. And a couple of things that we're going to have to hand mold. All in all, so far so good. Just a sec, let me move us around here. Okay, off camera, I stripped the jigs and spacers and tape and all that off of the light. Honestly, it's looking pretty good. We have to square stuff up. I'm going to shorten this. And then what I want to do here is I want to have these edges. If I were to do this again, I would take that same piece of G10 and bevel that so that these edges already came in. But I don't want them to pinch down hard on this. I just want them to hold the light in. So we're going to take and warm these up and mold them with our fingers. And I'm just going to put a little bit of tape over here and we're going to mold those in nice and gentle. But let's get things cleaned up. Before we do any of that, I am just going to take a little bit of this off real quick on the bandsaw. I'll be right back. If I can just cut this off real quick. Cut that off real quick. Like that. Oh, this is starting to look good. There's a few things we're going to have to do by hand that I want to do by hand. I've never made a holster like this. So like I said, we're going to fold these in to hold the light inside a little bit. We're probably going to flare these lips out a little bit. That's very simple as well by hand. And then we're going to bring this bottom, we're going to close that off. We'll have to shape it and flatten it. Again, not a problem. But first things first, let's clean her up. I have a 40 grit ceramic. I'm going to run it nice and slow. No need to melt this stuff. I already know that that's going to have to be rounded, so I might as well just get a start on it a little bit. Okay, there might still be some cleaning up to do and some adjustment, and we'll do that as we need. Right now, she's sitting in there pretty good. In fact, I'm really happy with it so far. What I want to do next, and we may have to do it again, I want to go to the Scotch-Brite wheel and see these burrs in here. I'm going to get those cleaned up. So, sorry. Hang tight. I'm going to get us set up at the Scotch-Brite wheel, and this will only take a minute. Okay. Let's see if we can clean up some of these burrs. This is the fine grade Scotch-Brite wheel. These things are great. Just like a buffing wheel, you got to be careful because they'll want to grab hold. The lighter the touch you use on these, the better the finish you'll get. Right now, we're not putting the final finish on, but we still got some bending and forming to do before we do that. But we got all those nasty burrs and stuff, for the most part, got them all taken care of. So now, the next thing is to go to the workbench and get the heat gun and do some final forming on a few things. All right, we're about set here. We do have a light that slides in nice. So now I'm going to just warm up this top rail and gently curve it in. One good way to do that is just to use the desk and push it like that, and that way I'll get it nice and uniform. So I'm going to run my heat gun on about 2.5 on this Milwaukee, and I don't know how hot that is, but I know it's hot enough to warm this kydex to the point where it'll bend, and I don't want to heat my light up too much, and I don't want to heat the kydex beyond this. I just want this lip. It won't take a lot to get this lip to bend where we need it to. Yeah, it's about right there already, believe it or not. Hit it a little bit more. And we'll take that, put some pressure on it. That should be enough. See what we did? And that's going to hold that light in without rubbing on the face of it. Let's do this other side. Kydex is great. Now this is very much a prototype. I've never made a holster like this specifically before. So I'm definitely learning stuff. It's fun to kind of just come down and figure it out though, to be honest. It's nice when it works out the first time too, where you wind up with something that's good enough to carry for a while without having to make a brand new one. I've been on the other end of that where I've had to make a second one with what I've learned making the first because the first one didn't work. That should be good. Even though we're not dealing with super hot temperatures, the kydex, I think around 300 degrees, it's definitely north of 250 is where it becomes malleable. So you definitely need to wear some gloves. These are a little bit thicker than needed, but better safe than sorry. Okay. Now those are both bent in nicely. So when that goes in, it can't come out. That's great. Okay, I want to deal with this bottom next. So let's pop the light back in. We have a little bit of a lip on the sides that hold the light where it should be. So what I'd like to do, I'm not going to put anything over the light. I want this piece to be right up against it. So we're going to warm this piece up here with the heat gun, and then we're going to put that on and just shove that straight down and put pressure on the light and the kydex all at once and squish it into this cooler surface. And well, we'll see what we come out with and see what adjustments we have to make after we do that. There may be a few, and that's okay. So I don't think I'm going to need the gloves for this. Famous last words, right? I'm going to find out if I'm right here shortly. I want to really warm up this whole tab because I want it to flatten out when we push it into the table. You may have to bend back up beyond the edge toward the top of the light a little bit. See how that's already ready to go? Doesn't take long. It's not even running this thing on really high heat or anything. Okay, I think we're just about ready to have at her here. Well, that's not the prettiest thing. Definitely not the prettiest. Is it functional? It's functional. And warm this up just a little bit down here. Get just a little bit more pinch to it. Okay, so now when that slides down in there, that grips it nice. See that? See, I squeezed this part just down a touch tighter. So now the light slides in, and then right about here, it starts to grip a little bit more. And then it comes onto that bottom part, which pretty much covers the button. Kind of looks like a drunk Snoopy or something. Debating whether or not I should do something about this. Maybe relieve this just a little bit. I think I'm going to relieve that just a touch. Just a second. Be right back. I'm just taking this over to the Scotch-Brite wheel. I'm going to pull that out and just relieve that edge just a little bit. I don't want to have that bottom part rubbing to the point where it can't allow the side to clamp onto the light. Let's take this off. Okay. Now I want to make this area up here just a little bit easier to put the light in. So we're going to warm these edges up and just give them a hint of outward tilt. So we're not looking for much. Just a little bit. To the other side. Okay, so if I hope not too many people see the bottom. They should just, whoops, almost dropped it. They should be just seeing it from the side. From the side, it looks pretty good. That I could work on that some more, but on my mod 1 here, I don't know if I'm gonna. It should be easy to draw and lock in pretty good. All right. Cool. We need to put a pocket clip on this now. All right, so where'd I put that plastic pocket clip? Here it is. And I need silver pencil. I'm going to place that pocket clip there where we like it and mark our holes. And then, oh good, I've been using this drill in other places. I thought maybe I had left it somewhere else, but we go with a real small pilot bit first. Make sure that we get pretty centered. Okay. Now I'm going to bump this up. Let's see, I believe I'm going to want a 7/32. Let me go grab one of my short through posts. Yep. So now, the through post, and let me clean up those burrs. Got a corner sink here. We'll just put that in there, kind of clean those burrs out a little bit. Now, through post. will sit inside, but it's recessed away from the light. I'm actually going to see about the next longer through post here. Might be better. What I like to do on these is I take the through post and then I use a rubber washer between the kydex and the actual belt clip. What that does is you can squish that leather washer down and it kind of locks things in place. It's nice. And it also, when you're installing it, you pop the leather washer on there and it holds everything in place even while you're assembling, which makes it super good. So I'm sorry I did that off camera. Get a couple of screws here. I have some nice flat head Phillips drive screws that will work well. They don't need to be very long because my through posts aren't very long. And just got to grab a Phillips screwdriver. A lot of times for this stuff, I just use these inexpensive interchangeable bit screwdrivers. They work well for just light duty stuff like this. All right, that one's tight. Don't have to be crazy. Let's see. Now the screen's protected. I could toss this on my belt. The retention isn't very high. I could definitely, I think I'm going to just work, I'm just going to increase the retention just a hair. Oh, that's great. I can still shake it out if I try, but it's mostly going to be on my belt like this. Did you see how fast that was? It doesn't take much, especially with this thinner kydex. You can really mold it and form it, make goofy looking things like this bottom, but it's fine. There's my holster for my Imalent, ready to go. I think the only thing I might do is buff up the edges a little bit, but that is a purely functional holster that is absolutely ready to go. A lot of times I will put blue Loctite on these, and there's no sense in doing that on camera. You guys know how to put blue Loctite on a screw. I think I'm probably going to back those out and just put blue Loctite on them. But there we go. Now I could toss this Imalent on my belt and wear it and have this great flashlight easily carried, and I don't have to put it in a pocket. It's well protected. I could carry it off lock because I can't reach any of the buttons to push them. I'm really happy with the way this turned out. Look, guys, I want to know, guys and gals, let me know what you think of this. I would love to hear your comments. Those of you that have done stuff with kydex before, let me know. Give me some hints. I'm always looking to learn more stuff. Let me know how you think my very first flashlight holster of this style anyway turned out. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. I hope everybody has a great weekend. See ya.